Right, today is our fifth day, and we have had a break of almost 10 days or more. Now that we are back, we are going to start from where we left. We just started off with the standard for program management in the last lecture, and basically, what we were discussing there was first of all, what was the purpose of that standard, what is a program, what is a project. Then we talked about benefit delivery, and in benefit delivery, we also talked about incremental and consolidated delivery. We also talked about the program elements, which are also called program components. And we said that anything inclusive of a program, which could be a subprogram, which could be a project, or which could be any other work which they like to call the program work. These are all various components of the program. Then we discussed the program life cycle, and in that we talked about the program definition, where the program is defined and planned, the program management plan is developed, and then once decided which projects are to be projects and other components which are to be executed or implemented, then those implementations start off, and then they start yielding the benefits. Now, we already talked about the benefit delivery, that the delivery of the benefits could be either incremental or consolidated. That will depend upon program to program. But if the benefits start yielding earlier and they are directly being communicated to the customer, they are given out to the organization or the customer, that means it is an incremental delivery. Otherwise, we consolidate the benefits and we deliver the benefits at the end of the program. So, for the time the program is running, the benefits are the responsibility of the program manager. But once these benefits are handed over at the end of the program, there has to be some transfer effort involved, in which the sustainability of these benefits, which are being handed over to operations or to the customer, is also to be planned. I'll just go back a few slides to show you a diagram. Yes, this one. I hope it appears in front of your screen.
It's not. I see the same one.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, program life cycle.
Program life cycle, right? So, as you remember, we talked about this. We said, first of all, there is an organizational governance, which is a big umbrella under which the programs, projects, and portfolios all exist within under that organizational governance. Even operations also occur under this organizational governance, and your program sets up its own smaller umbrella, which is more detailed as far as the program work is concerned. So those policies and procedures regarding the management of the program are outlined in the program governance, and it is mandatory for the program, for any program in the organization, to be following the program governance framework. Program governance framework is not going to be specific for every project program. This would be a generalized program governance framework for running any program, and under that, abiding by the guidelines given in the program governance framework, every program will develop its program management plan. So, when the program is in definition stage, the chartering of the program or mobilization of the program manager and all that happens in the program formulation, and then program manager starts planning. This is where the program management plan comes into being. Naturally, we will talk about the benefit management plan and other things also, but the program management plan actually describes how the program will delivery will happen. Then, according to that program management plan, uh, the components are authorized and planned over the time as and when a specific project or sub-program or other work has to be started. So they are chartered in the program delivery when and where they have to, and then we have a oversight and integration element there, and ultimately they are they are uh, transitioned and closed. This I am talking about the components. I'm not talking about the program. And whatever outputs are coming out, these are the benefits which could either be incrementally released or they could be consolidated at the program end and released at one time in the end. And once all these benefits have been sustained and released, the program is declared closed. And when the program closure happens, at that time, all the benefits must have yielded. Otherwise, the purpose of the program will not be fulfilled. This was one diagram, and then there is yet another one. Okay, let it appear to you. So, uh, I don't know, it's not appearing in front of me as if you can see it or not, but can you?
Yeah, I can see it.
The program benefits management, right? Okay, so here you can see the program delivery definition happening. Program definition means setup of the program and the management plan, and not only that, but also initiation of those components. Here you see on top, we have a sub program initiated here, a project initiated here, some other work initiated here, another component. So all initiations are basically happening, and some of the components are they're being closed. You can see the very first component on top, the subprogram. It looks like that it finishes here, but the benefit is yielded after probably one complete cycle, one period, one periodic cycle it takes to start yielding the benefits. And yielding the benefit remains the responsibility of the program, and that is part of program benefits delivery. So as soon as the first benefit starts yielding, the program benefit delivery starts until the last benefit is yielded. Program definition is it is enough to have a program management plan and the initiations completed of all the components. Till that time, the program definition is going on. If you look up there, all the sub-program projects and other work, which are all the different components, they encompass the beginning till end of all the components. And discrete benefit means the ultimate benefits coming from each and every one of those components. These are the discrete components, which are then later are to be consolidated during the program closure. While the program closure is happening, they have to be consolidated if it is to be delivered consolidatedly. Otherwise, these benefits can go directly to the customer. So, if they have to be consolidated, they are consolidated during program closure, and then they are transferred and as sustained benefits. So, this is where the program job completely finishes. So, this cycle shows the program benefit management in the bottom, program definition, program benefit delivery, and program closure. And on top, it shows you the role of the different components as well as the discrete benefits. So this pretty much explains how all this is happening. Now, coming over to our today's topic, we had to talk about initiation of programs. Programs are generally initiated, are recognized in two ways. Probably I discussed this earlier also. You see, number one, programs are initiated naturally to pursue certain new goals and objectives or strategies. Like, this is a top down approach. The organizational strategy has assigned a portion of strategy to the program and made the program responsible for accomplishing that benefit. So the benefit has been described in the strategy, and that strategy is now the responsibility of the program to design how to yield those benefits. So it can give birth to a number of component projects, programs, sub-programs, or whatever. Uh, and through those components, it will ensure that those benefits are yielded. The second approach is there are already existing certain independent standalone projects or programs or other work, and you realize that if they can be put together, they can be coordinated, they can yield the benefits in a more synergetic manner. So existing projects, programs, or other work are joined together and redesigned to form into a program. So programs may also be formed when an organization recognizes that its ongoing project, program, and other work are related by their pursuit of common outcome, capabilities, objectives, or benefits. But remember, it is not simple matter of putting them together. It is there is a lot of role of program strategy into it. How the program strategy ties them up together. If they cannot be tied under one strategy, then probably they cannot form a program. So this is a very careful kind of a thing. This is a bottom-up approach that the components are already existing in various forms, and you have to be a really expert program manager to put them all together in form of a program and tie them through a common strategy. So the first one, the top-down, these programs are typically initiated to support new strategic goals and objectives, and they enable organization to pursue its vision and mission. So they are coming top down. Examples could be programs initiated as part of an organization's strategic plan to influence human behavior or to respond to a crisis. So these are those things which are coming from top down. So the reason for starting the program is coming from the strategy, is coming from the organization. But the other thing, which I said bottom up, in which the project programs and projects, subprograms, and other work, meaning all the components, they are existing, but they are somehow related by their pursuit of common outcomes, capabilities, objectives, and benefits. So you realize that they all are working together towards the same common goal. So probably if I can put them all together in form of a program, they can function better and I can synergize them. A process improvement program supported by previously independent software development initiatives. So there were a number of independent software development initiatives, and you think that they all are contributing to the same purpose. So if they can be joined together, and this normally happens, we do that, we join them together to yield common benefit. Or a neighborhood revitalization program supported by building public parks and traffic control projects and a community outreach program. So this is also an example of a physical uh, projects or programs existing are to be tied up together in form of a program. These programs are often formed when an organization determines that organizational benefits would be more effectively realized by managing ongoing initiatives as a single program. That is exactly the definition of synergizing. Such programs are supported by program management activities after some or all of their projects have been initiated. So, in this specific case, because it is coming bottom up, so some of those projects might already be been conducted. They are already happening. And now you are taking them under the umbrella of a new program which you are forming now. So, as I said before, this is not easy job. This is a very testing job to form a program of existing running projects. This is a tough job. Newly initiated or identified programs should all be managed according to the principles and life cycle management guidance described in the subsequent sections of this standard. We have already talked about little bit about the life cycle management, life cycle approach, but naturally life cycle management will come later. So approach we understand that programs will have to yield results through gateways like uh, the UK system of gateway review. So there are gates, and because projects can have phases which are specific to the technology of the project. But program is such a huge thing that we cannot have a you know customized kind of a life cycle there. We need to have a standard life cycle, like program initiation, program delivery, program. So these kinds of things have to be defined, and you have to pass through one gate towards the other phase. So that defines the program life cycle. It is incumbent on a program manager to ensure, for example, that activities important to program definition be completed for programs whose projects and other programs may have already begun. So this we understand that until and unless the program has been defined, a program management plan is in place, how can we start the execution? How can we start the components when we don't know what all has to be done in this program? We should have a kind of a roadmap available with us, which should tell us what components can go in parallel, what components are dependent on each other. So that kind of uh, network diagram also might have to be created, and a schedule is also to be created for the program. That all is part of the program management plan. So far, so good.
Yeah, so far so good.
Okay. So this much was about the top-down and bottom-up approach, and now we talk about the relationship between the portfolio programs and projects. And if you like, we can skip this section because this you have studied in PMP. This you study in any of the standards, PMP, PgMP, PFMP. All standards are talking about this relationship in the same way. I will scan through it, but still, if you feel that you know all about it, then I will move ahead and I'll skip that. So,
Okay, you can, yeah, if we can go through it.
right, I'll just give you the basic
Sure.
thing, and we keep moving. If something is need to be
Mhm.
explained, you can ask me and I can explain that. We know the definition of the portfolio. This includes projects, programs, sub-programs, and operations. Operations also. You might have observed that the importance of operation we started realizing as soon as we started talking about program. Why? Because program is such a huge thing that it is not only the components like projects or sub-programs which have to be viewed, but there are some other operations of the program within the program. They are not the organizational operations. These we call the other work, and we classified them as one of the components. So that is basically the operation of the program. Just because the administration is large, the duration and complexity is huge. Therefore, we needed some operations of the program, and that was why we needed. those other work components. When we talk about portfolio, the need for operations is even more pronounced and enhanced because portfolio does not monitor, does not, execute the projects and programs, but it just prioritizes them and provide them the strategic resources. Portfolio does not control them except for killing them or giving birth to new projects and programs. So portfolio has no micromanagement into the projects and programs, but the work of portfolio has a lot of calculations involved. A lot many business cases have to be developed, and lot many analysis has to be done. Who will do that? Therefore, apart from the project programs and sub-programs a portfolio is managing, it also needs to have a complete network of operations, of its own operations. I am not specifically talking about the organizational operations. I am talking about the operation of the portfolio, or you can call it the other work. Now, that is one part of it. The other part is portfolio is a link between the organizational project management and the operations of the organization. So whatever benefits are going to be delivered to the organization or whatever interface has to exist with the operations, this also has to interact with that. That also further emphasizes the need for linkage to operations. So this is a collection of project programs, sub-programs and operations grouped together in order to facilitate the effective management of that work to meet strategic business objectives. Please do not confuse yourself here. When it says facilitate the effective management of that work, what work it is talking about? It is not talking about the specific benefits of each project or program, because the project or program are responsible for their own outputs and outcomes, right? What is the purpose of portfolio? Purpose of portfolio is to ensure that the right projects and programs are being done, not are they being rightly done or not. So it prioritizes the most important projects and programs for the organization and allows them to be chartered. Moreover, it provides the strategically important resources to the most important high prioritized projects or programs. It also realizes which projects or programs are no more required and therefore they must be closed. And it also creates and analyzes the business cases of new projects and programs which could be included into the portfolio. So this is the strategic business objective of the portfolio. It is not to be confused with the objective of a program or a project. So the programs are grouped within a portfolio naturally, and I would say independent projects are also directly linked to the portfolio. It is not necessary that all the projects must be linked to the program and programs should be linked to the portfolio. This is not the only relationship. But there are some standalone projects which do not come under any program. They are directly linked to the portfolio. But yes, as the program includes a number of projects, so projects under the program are answerable to the program and they are governed by the program strategy, and program is answerable, or for that matter, it comes under the portfolio. So, and programs, as you understand, it has sub-programs, it has projects, it has other work, which we have been talking about all the time, and that are managed in a coordinated fashion. You remember, portfolios are not to be coordinated, uh, not to be managed in a coordinated fashion. They may be unrelated projects and programs, whereas here in program we have coordinated, but they all support the portfolio's objective, strategic objective of the portfolio. which is to keep the investment decision making uh, to be most economical. Prioritize as if right we can have the most effective and efficient use of the money of the organization. Individual projects that are either within or outside of the program are still considered part of a portfolio naturally, and any project within the under the portfolio is somehow related with with the portfolio. Standalone projects are linked to the portfolio, all right, but other projects which are part of the program, are also linked to the portfolio through the program. Although the projects or programs within the portfolio may not necessarily be interdependent, are directly related. This we understand. Now, organizational strategies and priorities are linked and have relationship between the portfolios and programs, and between the programs and projects. This is also self-explanatory. Organizational planning impacts the projects by meaning of prioritization. This I talked about, that project prioritization and looking at the risk at the portfolio level. This is the responsibility of the portfolio. And the third thing is um, it can direct the management of resources. The allocation of resources, especially the strategic resources, from naturally various points of view, from risk point of view, other purposes. This support the component project on the basis of risk categories, specific lines of business, or general types of projects such as infrastructure or process improvement. So these are the three purposes. Number one, relationship. Number two, project prioritization, and number three, strategic resources. These are the basic purposes of the portfolio. How they are linked? This is an old diagram, but it shows very clearly that a, a portfolio a portfolio may have standalone project directly linked to the portfolio because it doesn't have a program. It can have a program which has projects only, no subprograms, only projects answering to program answering to portfolio. And it may also have a program which has subprograms under it, as well as it can have some standalone projects answering to program. No, I would not say standalone. I should say projects as well as subprograms under a program. But the subprograms will also have their own projects underneath. So like program B1 has project 4 and 5 under it, and project B has directly control of project 6 in addition to program B1. Now, like programs could have subprograms, portfolios could have subportfolios. So a portfolio has a subportfolio which can have a standalone project 7 answering to it, or a program C answering to it, which may have certain projects 8 and 9 and certain operations answering to the program, and the independent project 7 are answerable to the portfolio subportfolio A, which is in turn reporting to the organizational portfolio. In addition to all that, your portfolio, the main portfolio, may also be having a linkage with operations, which I explained earlier, that programs may have to interact with operations. Why is all this done? Just for shared resources and stakeholders. The relationship in a portfolio might only be a categorization. Maybe, you know, all the IT projects and programs put together into a portfolio means they have got similar kind of resources, or they have got similar kind of stakeholders, or some other categorization. Maybe this is the geographic categorization. A country may have been divided into east zone and west zone. So East zone could be one portfolio and West zone could be another portfolio. So this could be any categorization, but no direct relationship. So portfolios may not have interrelationships. This is another example from the very old version of PMBOK, and it also shows exactly the same thing, how the portfolios are, projects are answering to sub portfolio and all that. This is the same thing. So I do not need to waste more time on it. Let's move on to the program management. Uh, any questions so far?
No, all good. I did not know that portfolios could have portfolios.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as the program management is concerned, we have seen this definition before. This is very similar to what the project management is, but naturally we are not talking about project management here. So application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. Now this part is similar to the definition of project management, but later it says to a program to meet the program requirements and to obtain benefits and control not available by managing projects individually. So we could not have had that synergy which we wanted to create through this program strategy. We had a strategy for this program according to which we have designed the projects and other components of this program, and we can now deliver synergetically much greater results if rather than having them done separately, those projects done separately, they would not have yielded that consolidated benefit. And moreover, we have better control. Purpose is common, therefore, the control should also be common. So once they are tied together by a program strategy, we can control all the projects and all the components of the program together. So if we apply our program management knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to the program requirements, as if we can obtain the benefits and control which are otherwise not available. If they can run, they are run individually. So it involves aligning multiple components, as we already know, talked a lot about it. So all those components, sub-programs, projects, other work, to achieve the program goals. So everything is aligned towards achieving the program goal and allow for optimized or integrated cost, schedule, and effort. So that this was the part of the program management plan, the optimized and integrated cost, schedule, and effort. So program management plan is going to be very similar to what we used to have in the project management plan, but only the thing is the level is a bit higher. Components within a program are related through a common outcome or delivery of a collective set of benefits. If the relationship among the project is determined to be only that of a shared client, seller, technology, or source, as I said before, that would not make it a program. That would better be classed as a portfolio because common client, common seller, or common technology does not mean that they are somehow interrelated. The interrelated through a category is not an interrelationship. They are not working toward the common goal. In programs, the program manager needs to integrate and control the interdependencies amongst the components. Now, this is very important here that all the components of the program have to be very cautiously designed. When should each component start and when should each component finish? Some of the components can work in parallel, while other components may require to have a sequence because the output of one component might be the input to the other component. Therefore, you have to be very careful in designing the start and end of this component, as I said earlier. and that would also affect the benefit cycle. So, how do we do that? By working in 5 interrelated and interdependent program management performance domains, which we have already been introduced to. That is strategy alignment, benefit management, stakeholder engagement, governance, and life cycle management. Through these program management performance domains, program manager oversees and analyzes component interdependencies to assist in the determination of the optimal approach for managing the components as a program. You see, our purpose was efficiency. So until and unless I get the optimal results, I am not synergizing it. Synergy can only be achieved when I am being effective as well as efficient. So how to use all these components in such a well coordinated way as if I can reap the maximum benefit. That is the purpose, and that is the optimal use of putting all of these components together. Actions related to these interdependencies may include leading and coordinating common program activities. Like, what do you think? What could be leading and coordinating common program activities? Like, arranging the financing for the program, if there is a need, although procurement could be a project level issue. Every project will have its own procurement management plan. But what if many projects require to procure similar items? So that kind of responsibility where commonality exists in procurement, or for that matter in anything, for risk management also, program activities will take on that responsibility. So if the construction job is to be done in all the projects of the program, then probably maybe the building material could be procured centrally by the program. So procurement across all the program components, work or phases could be taken up by the program activities. And resolving any resource constraint, that is the biggest issue. When a number of projects are running under a program will also have to behave like a small little portfolio, because it is going to have one big resource pool which has to be shared with all the component projects, sub-programs, and other work. What resources are to be given to whom and when and how? And you understand that when there is a demand, supply will go short. So resolving resource constraints and are conflicts that affect multiple components within the program. So I would say that program will be responsible for prioritizing its components and allocating resources within the program. Although it looks very much like what the portfolio does, but portfolio does it for program or independent standalone projects. Here the program is responsible for all the projects within the program and the sub-programs within this program. So the responsibility of prioritizing within and allocating the resources judiciously and to reap the optimal results. This could be the responsibility of the program activities. Then, because it is centrally controlling everything, so the purpose of the program is common for all projects, and they might have the same stakeholder to whom it has to be reported, and they have to be communicated with. So the such stakeholders which are common to all projects or most of the projects would be communicated and reported by the program manager. So communicating and reporting to stakeholders in a manner that reflects all activities within the program. Responding proactively to risks spanning multiple components of the program. Again, I would say risk management is the responsibility of component projects and subprograms. But if there is a commonality of risks, if the same risk is affecting more than one project, that risk has to be taken up by the program manager. So this becomes the program activity then. So such a line has to be drawn. What risks have to be dealt with by the projects or the subprograms, and what have to be escalated to the program manager. So those risks at the program level must also be defined. Aligning program efforts with organizational strategic direction. This is very important because program has taken birth just for the fulfillment of the organizational or strategic direction. So you have to keep it aligned with that, which impacts and affects the individual components, groups of components, or program goals and objectives. You see, program is, I have explained this thing many times earlier. Program is aligned with the organizational objectives, and all the projects or the components within the program are aligned to the program. If the program cannot keep its alignment with the organizational strategy, then how can projects be aligned with ultimately the organizational strategy? Because the only medium between these two is the program. So program has to not only keep the alignment, but also have to rehash the strategy if that alignment changes. Then resolving the scope, cost, schedule, quality, and risk impact within a shared governance structure. Because the program has, the whole program has one governance structure. Remember, I might have told you earlier that this governance structure is also communicated downwards. This was the program governance, which is coming out of the bigger umbrella of the organizational governance. So this program governance is further broken down to a project governance level, right? So project governance is directly responsible for developing the project management plan. Not exactly the governance is responsible. Project manager is responsible for following the project governance framework in developing the project management plan, exactly as program management manager is responsible for following the program governance framework to develop the program management plan. That is the relationship, and this is where the guidelines have been provided for scope, time, cost, and everything, and those guidelines have to be adhered by. Then last point is tailoring program management activities, processes, and interfaces to effectively address cultural, socio-economic, political, and environmental differences in programs. As we have been talking, the program is not a small thing, it is a big thing. The effect of culture we have seen in projects, but that might not be that pronounced. But here in program, say which is 10 or 20 years long, the culture is impacting the program much more. And naturally, political conditions, socio-economic, these might not affect the project as this affects the program, and other environmental differences. Although we do understand, we have been studying about the enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets, but those terms are too shallow when we talk about program. Here we are not only talking about the enterprise environmental factors. Here we are talking about the bigger things like socioeconomic factors, political factors, cultural factors, separate from enterprise environmental factors. This is, I mean to say, this is much bigger than enterprise environmental factors. So you need to tailor your program according to these things cultural, socioeconomic, political, and environmental differences in programs. Two programs cannot have the same behavior. Through structured oversight and governance, program management enables appropriate planning, controlled delivery, transition, and benefit sustainment. I hope we have gone through all these steps. A program has to be planned, controlled, delivery, delivery of benefits, that has to be transitioned to the client, and benefit sustainment. This transition and benefit sustainment happens twice. One, when a benefit is yielded out of a project to the program. This is one transition and benefit sustainment of that benefit to the program. And then consolidation of all the benefits. And once we are trying to hand over these consolidated benefits to the customer, then at that time, the transition to the customer and benefit sustainment. So this has to happen across all the components within the program to achieve the program's intended strategic benefits. Program management provides a framework for managing related efforts, considering key factors such as strategic benefits, coordinated planning, complex interdependencies, deliverable integration, and optimized pacing. You see, just read through these points once again and realize that we are dealing with something big. Strategic level benefits. Strategic benefits meaning what? Programs have delivered some outcome, some benefits. Those benefits were too small. Those benefits were consolidated to yield the program level benefit, which ultimately contributes to the strategic level benefit. So this is we are talking bid. Our benefits, the benefits the program is delivering are adding up to the strategic benefit. Then this is a highly coordinated effort. So many projects, so many programs, and all that, and the right planning everything at the right moment. So proper scheduling has to be done, proper coordinated planning has to be done, and the interdependencies amongst these various components is also very complex. What benefits we want to yield at what time? So these interdependencies should be such which should ensure early delivery, early benefit delivery, and consistent delivery of the benefits. All the deliverables, all the outputs coming out of each project has to be integrated as if they can result into certain benefits. And we have to do this all in the most efficient manner, most optimized, in the most optimized pacing. You cannot, basically what we said was synergy. Program is basically bringing synergy. This optimized pacing is pointing towards that. If because we have been tied up in form of a program, now this becomes our responsibility to make it the most efficient way of doing it. The benefits should be optimized. The speed of deployment or delivery should be optimized. So this is what the program management really means. Before I can move on to the next topic, any questions? So,
Not at this time. I the one small one.
mhm,
Um, when the when the benefits are being um, realized and handed over to the client,
mhm.
wouldn't they always want benefits on a not consolidated at one time, but as you mentioned, in different phases and as early as possible rather than
Of course,
waiting
of course, of course.
10, 20 years?
Actually, as you understand, we have two different methodologies. One is um, consolidated benefits, and one is incremental benefits. If you are talking about today we are moving on towards agile, and in agile, everyone wants exactly the same thing what you are saying, that they want all the benefits as soon as possible, early delivery and consistent delivery. This can only be possible in incremental benefits. And I stand by you that this is the future of program management. But in some projects, which are highly waterfall type model, these they need to deliver a consolidated output at the end of the program. Like you see, we have to launch a spaceship. So we cannot we might have developed the engine of the spaceship, and we might have delivered it, but basic project was the program was the launch of the spaceship, which cannot happen until and unless all the pieces and parts are put together, and the benefit will only realize when the ship is in the space. So this is the consolidated thing. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I fully agree with you that that is more interesting. Incremental is much more interesting. Consistent delivery and early delivery. These are two basic things which are the heart and soul of agile.
Right.
Then now we talk about the relationship among the portfolio management, program management, project management, and organizational project management. Don't be confused. This is as we have just established the relationship amongst project, program, and portfolio. Now, what is the difference in managing them? The things are going to be repeated a number of times, but that will burn into your mind. You will then understand completely how the things are happening. In order to understand portfolio, program, and project management, it is important to recognize the similarities and differences among these disciplines. It is also helpful to understand how they relate to organizational project management. And I hope I have given you the idea that program, project, and portfolio put together is organizational project management. But they need to have a fourth component, which is called organizational enablers. So portfolio management, program management, project management, and organizational enablers. And organizational enabler, what are they? They are exactly the same thing what we were talking about: cultural, socio-economic, and all those factors, which we used to call enterprise environmental factors. But at a very high level, they are no more called enterprise environmental factors. They become at OPM level, they become organizational enablers. So those things, portfolio management, program management, project management, and organizational enablers, these four things put together is called the organizational project management. Organizational project management is a strategy execution framework utilizing projects, programs, and portfolio management, as well as organizational enabling practices. This is what I was saying: organizational enabling practices to consistently and predictably deliver organizational strategy. So, what is the purpose of OPM? To deliver organizational strategy, producing better performance, better results, and a sustainable competitive advantage. Now, this is a generalized objective of OPM. When we talked about a program management, portfolio management, or program management, they had different objectives. But this is a larger, bigger objective, which is more generic in sense. So generally, what we desire from a OPM is to deliver organizational strategy through project programs and portfolios, producing better performance, better results, and sustainable competitive advantage. Now we are talking strategy. This is strategy. This is a strategy execution framework. Portfolio, program, and project management are aligned with, are driven by the organizational strategic goals. Naturally, we all understand that whether it is a portfolio, it is a program, or it is a project, whatever it is, this all in one way or the other is related with the organizational strategic goals. They all are actually functioning for the fulfillment of organizational strategic objectives or goals. How do they do that? Portfolio management aligns with organizational strategies by selecting the right programs or projects. This is exactly what I said. It it is not responsible for how rightly you are conducting the projects or programs. That is not the business of portfolio management. It has to select the right projects and programs to be done. It is from the investment point of view. This is not a monitoring and control center. Portfolio management is not a monitoring and control center. This is basically a selection center where we select the right projects and programs which should be done uh, looking at the investment portfolio of the organization. Number two, it prioritizes these projects or programs whichever is more important for the benefit of the organization. Which projects or programs satisfy the organizational strategic goals better, come higher in priority, and then providing the needed resources, that is, distribution of resources to high priority work. So, this is the job of portfolio, the three responsibilities: selection, prioritization, and resource sharing. As far as the program is concerned, program management harmonizes all its projects and program components. Number one, this is its job, harmonizes all its projects and program components. And what does it achieve? It controls interdependencies in order to realize specified benefits. Very briefly, it has consolidated into these two basic tasks. As far as the project management is concerned, it develops and implements plans to achieve a specific scope that is driven by the objectives of the program or portfolio, because project is under the either the program or the portfolio. So whatever objective has been given to the project is responsible for achieving that specific scope, is subjected to and ultimately to organizational strategies. So projects are ultimately contributing towards the achievement of organizational strategy. Now talking about OPM, organizational project management, and we already talked about it. So what does it do? It advances organizational capability. It matures the organization. It makes your project, program, and portfolio practices better by linking project, program, and portfolio management principles and practices with organizational enablers. That is, what are the organizational enablers? Organizational enablers are structural, cultural, technological, and human resource practices. These are not part of the project, program, or portfolio. In addition to the project management, program management, and portfolio management, we have organizational enablers, and organizational enablers have structural practices, cultural practices, technological practices, human resource practices of the organization to support strategic goals. So this is what OPM. OPM is basically enhancing and advancing the organizational capability. Now, an organization measures its capabilities, then plans and implements improvements towards the systematic achievement of best practices. Now you will find the link between good practices and best practices. Until and unless we talk about organizational project management, we cannot talk about best practices. If you are talking about project management or program management or portfolio management, All of these three standards give you good practices about the respective field. PMBOK gives you good practices about project management. Standard for program management gives you good practices about program management. And standard for portfolio management gives you good practices about portfolio management. But once we talk about OPM, we just said it advances organizational capability, meaning it is working towards maturity. And once you want to work towards maturity, you want to be the best, you want to compete against your competitors, then you must have some best practices. You must measure your capabilities where you stand as an organization in project program and portfolio management. In other words, I would say OPM. Where do you stand in OPM? What are your current capabilities? Where you lack? Then plan for those improvements. And once you have achieved those improvements, naturally through new projects and programs and all that, your organizational maturity will increase. Organizational project management maturity will increase towards the systematic achievement of best practices. So there will be some capabilities, there will be certain KPIs, and those KPIs will be pointing towards certain best practices. OPM3, Organizational Project Management Maturity Model, actually encompasses all of this: capabilities, key performance indicators, and good practices. But here we are just indicating through organizational project management that this is a way to mature your organization. I hope I have not confused you any further. Is it all right? Yes, Julian. Julian, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hmm. So, have you heard the last part about maturity?
Yes.
That was really very important because that differentiates between the good practices and the best practices. Until and unless we are talking about PMBOK and project management, program management, portfolio management, we are talking about good practices. But once you want to, enhance your capability as an organization, so organizational project management maturity will depend on the best practices achieved through improvement of those capabilities and tested by certain KPIs. Okay, so this is your organizational project management, and you can very well differentiate between the project programs and portfolios. This you have seen in PMBOK also. So I would not go into the detail of this, but if you read through this, you can amply differentiate between projects, programs, and portfolios. From the scope point of view, from the change point of view, planning, management, success, and monitoring, this very well elaborates the differences between the projects, programs, and portfolios. But remember, these are just the good practices. Putting them all together comes the best practices, where we measure your capabilities. If you have good practices, you have achieved good practices in each one of these areas, that is the time when you would be going for maturity. Okay, first talking about the program and project management differences. During program and project initiation, program manager oversees and provides direction and guidance to the project manager. This is a very, very important sentence, especially from the program management professional certification exam. I will repeat time and again to you. Program manager does not micromanage, does not poke his nose in, into the project affairs. He is just responsible for initiating the projects and then overseeing it from distance and providing direction and guidance to the project manager. He is just a mentor. He will just, be available for the project manager. Whenever project manager has a problem, he will come and he will ask for your guidance. Only direct and guide the project manager. Do not force your decisions onto the project manager. This is a very important point. Although you, from monitoring and evaluation point of view, you may have to collect certain data. You may have to have, even sometimes people hire a third party for audit of its project manager. That is a fair way of doing it. That is very fair. But poking your nose in each and every affair of the project manager will actually harm the performance of the project manager. He will no more remain independent. But to guard against wrong reporting by the project managers, you may hire a consultant or a third party for audit of the project that will keep you abreast with whatever is happening in the project. Then coordinate effort between the projects. This is the responsibility of project program manager. If a project needs to coordinate something with other project within the program, this is the coordination is the responsibility of the program manager. Program manager will ensure all coordinations amongst its components. And again, the word of caution, do not directly manage the individual components. Do not ever do that. This is not allowed, and you will definitely get certain questions in your exam which would actually pointing towards this thing. You do not create the WBS for the projects. You do not plan the project management plan. You just create your program management plan. Then you become sponsor for the projects. The projects under the program, you are the sponsor as a program manager. And it is your role. Naturally, you have a role. Whatever the life cycle of the project is, you will be, involved in initiation and closure of every phase and the project itself. You will be approving whatever they create, the documents, project management plan, and everything. But do not create the project management plan. Do not try to interfere in the creation of those documents. I hope I said earlier, uh, program manager is responsible for developing the program work breakdown structure, and that will naturally link to the projects. That should not go down more than one level into the project. You may define project and major categories within the project. Otherwise, the remaining work breakdown structure will have to be created by the project manager. You do not have to advise him how that should be. So this is also, do not directly manage the individual components. Essential program management responsibilities include planning the program, not the project, planning the program. And that is a big job. That is a big responsibility. Identifying and planning benefit realization and sustainment. Again, a big responsibility. Benefit realization is one big job and sustainment is another big job. How it is to be sustained not only during the life of the program, but even after the life of the program. Identification and control of the interdependencies between the projects. That is your job. Addressing escalated issues. All those issues which could not have been resolved by the project will ultimately come to you as a program manager. So your projects, you are in the escalation path. So you must address all unresolved issues coming from the project to be resolved here. That is where your guidance is required. Tracking the contribution of each project and the non-project work, all components, to the consolidated program benefits. This is your responsibility to get the all the contributions or all the reports from the project and analyze them from the point of view of consolidation of program benefits, not from the point of view of managing the project. Don't try to manage the project. Try to manage your program. I hope I have made this point very clear. Okay, the integrative nature of program management involves coordinating the processes for each of the projects or programs. Coordinating, just mind the word coordinating, not, you know, interfering. If there is a need for coordination amongst your components, you will help in coordination. Coordination applies through all program management activities and involves managing the processes at a higher level higher than those associated with individual projects. Time and again, PMBOK, Standard for Program Management, is pointing towards this thing. Time and again, it is a caution, never ever to involve yourself with an individual project. Involves managing the processes at a level a level higher than those associated with individual projects. Clearly, it is defined that you are not supposed to be interfering with the individual projects. Coordination should be amongst the projects, not within the project. That is not your job. For example, management of issues and risks needing resolution at the program level only. You see, you are responsible for program level risks, program level issues. And what are these program level risks and issues which has been escalated by the projects or which have been earlier identified as program level issues and risks? Only those things are to be coming to the program level, and they only program level risks and issues are to be managed by the program manager. If a project manager comes to you, he is not escalating an issue, but he is saying that he needs some guidance how to resolve this issue. So this is more of a mentoring you need to do. This is not your primary responsibility. Yes, you will guide him, help him, advise him, but that you can't command him in resolving that issue that way. I hope I'm making my point clear. Your domain starts in the program. You are responsible for program level issues. You can, if asked by the project manager, you can guide him on whatever he is asking. But that is not your job that you start monitoring him on that and ask him, keep asking questions about that thing time and again. That is not your status and that is not your job. Why? Because they involve multiple projects or otherwise cross project boundaries. Only those are your job and therefore cannot be addressed by the individual project level. That is why those issues which has been escalated to you, they are not the domain of the project. Therefore, they have come to you, and you, as a program manager, you are supposed to resolve that. The interactions between the program and its component tend to be iterative and cyclic. Planning phase information flows predominantly but not exclusively from program components to the program during the planning phase. What does that mean? Yes, Julian? Can you define what this says? Information flows predominantly but not exclusively from program components to the program during the planning phase. Julian, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, I'll move on. This basically means that it is not the case that the subordinate components will always be feeding information to the program manager. Information flow can also go from program to the component level. You see, there is a to and fro movement. Uh, if, for example, if strategy changes and program strategy has to be amended accordingly, this amendment has to be informed to all. Program management plan will be amended, and the things will have to be communicated down to the projects as if they can also realign themselves. But naturally, as a program manager, I would like the information flowing from the component upwards all the time, as if I can keep a track of the things. And to make your life much easier, I have already said that you should have a third party having an eye on how the things are happening, and you can have audits conducted for each project. Information regarding status changes affecting cross-cutting dependencies could be flowing from projects to the program and then from program to the affected projects. This is exactly what I have already explained, that information may flow up and down, but mostly it appears that it is moving from components to the program. Early in the program guides and directs the individual program components to align and achieve desired goals and benefits. This is what program is guiding and directing the components. And basically the role of program manager is of guide, and he directs them. Program also influences the approach for managing the individual projects within it. Uh, how does it do that? Influences the approach for managing the individual projects within it. Influence does not mean that he controls them. He can advise them. Naturally, project managers are responsible for whatever they're doing. But if they need some help, you can provide them a overall guideline how to manage their projects. So the project governance framework basically is what you have given them, and they are now they have prepared their project management plans in accordance with that. This is accomplished through program managers' decision-making capability, along with program stakeholder engagement and program governance. Now, later in the program, the individual components report through the program governance processes on the project status, risks, changes, costs, issues, and other information affecting the program. This is where the information starts coming up. For example, your during schedule development, a detailed review of the overall schedule at the component level is needed to validate information at program level. So for this validation, I said third party and audits. So this is an interaction with the program and project level. The program is interacting with the project. Information is flowing up and down both ways. I've shown this diagram earlier to you, but this is a cutout from the project and program interaction. Then program and portfolio management. What is the relationship between program and portfolio management? PMI, as you understand, defines a portfolio as it includes projects, programs, sub-portfolios, and even operations. So they are managed as a group to achieve strategic objectives. The projects and programs within a portfolio may not be interdependent or directly related. Just unlike programs, things are directly related. Here, things may not be interdependent or directly related. They are often unrelated, though they may share a common resource pool or compete for funding, meaning that they could be classified into a similar category, but they may not have a relationship. A portfolio of projects may exist within an organization that has projects in progress. It is comprised of set of initiatives that may or may not be related, interdependent, or even managed as a portfolio. Projects may have been created by management effort to benefit one part of the organization without regard to overall strategic objectives or risks. With portfolio management, the organization is able to align the portfolio to the strategic objectives, take into account the risk of the component mix in a portfolio at any given time. Here, I want to clarify one thing. Whether you have portfolio management in your organization or not, it does not mean that you do not have a portfolio. You may not have a portfolio manager, but still you have a portfolio which is unmanaged, which is not being managed. What is a portfolio? At organizational level, all the projects and programs running in the organization are the portfolio of that organization. But the problem is, most of the organizations do not formally manage their portfolio, do not have a position of portfolio manager. So all their projects and programs may be running in ad hoc, or they may have been controlled at the strategic level. Top executives are managing them directly. So they are acting or behaving like portfolio manager. And that would only be possible when the portfolio is too small. When portfolio starts getting bigger, this is the time when you need to have a proper portfolio management setup. So with portfolio management, the organization is able to align the portfolio to the strategic objective, naturally the capability we wanted to achieve, and look at the components of the portfolio from the point of view of investment decision making. Why do we prioritize projects and programs? To reduce the risk of a bad mix. So we take into account the risk of the component mix in a portfolio at any given time. So at all times, we want to keep the best eggs in the basket. And any egg which is no more beneficial for the nest must be thrown out. And any new egg which is a promising one must be included. So this is how you deal with the portfolio. Components may be deferred by the organization when the risk of adding them to the current portfolio would unreasonably upset the balance and exceed the organizational risk tolerance. This is a very, very important lesson here. If your organization cannot afford to take the risk of another project, why are you doing that? So this is against the investment decision making. Your investment decision making should dictate that any such project should be deferred. Portfolio is a snapshot of the organization's effort in a program, reflecting the organizational goals at the time the projects were selected. Portfolio and program management interact as part of their relationship within the organizational strategy and objectives. As the organization manages its portfolio, the programs are influenced by portfolio needs. And what are the portfolio needs? Naturally, the organizational strategy and objectives. Uh, Portfolio has its own organizational objectives, though they may be slightly different from the program objectives or the project objectives. They are more on the decision making side, investment decision making side. But naturally, it has its own objectives, benefits, fund allocations, from where the money is coming, how the funding for all the projects and programs in the portfolio is generally to be orchestrated, requirements, timelines, and constraints, which are translated into program scope, deliverables, budget, and schedule. The direction of influence flows from portfolio to program. Naturally, portfolio is a bigger thing. Portfolio is senior in ranking to the program. So that controls in a way, because portfolio has the capacity or capability of killing a program altogether without giving any reason. Portfolio does not need to give a reason. If no matter how good a program is running, if that program is a burden on the organization, and a better program could have been started which could benefit more, the portfolio can decide program to be abandoned or deferred. Program benefit delivery, transition, and closing phases provide key data to the portfolio management function. This data may include program status information, program performance reports, budget and schedule updates, earned value and other types of cost performance reporting, change requests, approved changes, and escalated risks and issues. These are the things which could have been provided to portfolio, but I want to make my point here. Portfolio does not work alone on these things. Portfolio has its own mechanism of judging projects and programs, and it does not make all the decisions based on this information. It makes a lot many decisions based on the selection and prioritization it has done already. It keeps, uh, keeps reprioritizing the projects. Naturally, this data may be useful in reprioritization process. Type and frequency of these interactions is specified by the portfolio management or governance board and influenced by the program review and update cycle. But again, please understand portfolio, like I said in program manager has no authority to interfere with the project manager. Similarly, portfolio has no authority to interfere with the working of program manager. He can ask the program manager to abandon its program, but it cannot tell him how to run the program. So naturally, higher level decisions are taken out of these the information coming from program to the portfolio, but at the same time, portfolio has a much higher authority. A portfolio is one of the indicators that reveals an organization's true intent, risk tolerance, and progress. It is where investment decisions are made. This is exactly what I had been mentioning for so long. Investment decision making is the basic responsibility of the portfolio. It is where the investment decisions are made, resources are allocated, priorities are identified. This is the crux of it. If the strategic direction changes, the portfolio is re-examined. So it is even more important than the program, because a program will only have to rehash its components. But what if the organizational strategy changes? The whole of the portfolio will have to be realigned. So in this realignment, maybe your program may be put on hold. How does it happen? For example, there is an organizational portfolio in which your program is very important. Suddenly, a hostile takeover happens or a merger happens, and due to merger, your organizational strategies completely change, and your program may not be of any essence to the new executives. Their strategy does not does not benefit from your program. Therefore, portfolio may close down your program altogether. Strategic direction changes may occur in an organization due to these reasons, which we already know many times. We have talked about them. Market changes, organizational focus changes, due to competition, you may have certain changes, other external environmental factors and other things. So these things may influence changes to the organization to the strategy direction of the strategy. Portfolio selection process is revisited to ensure that portfolio components continue to be viable. Your program was viable. Is it still viable? And are able to support and improve the organization's new strategic direction when certain components, projects, or programs of the portfolio no longer satisfy the requirements. They may be cancelled. When this occurs, resources associated with the cancelled component are reassigned to other components within the portfolio, which are going to remain in the portfolio. Next topic is distinction among portfolio program and project management can be made clear through their interaction. Portfolio management ensures that programs and projects are selected, prioritized, and staffed. Staffed means resource allocation. So that was the job of the portfolio. Program focuses on achieving the benefit aligned with the portfolio and subsequently organizational objectives. And programs are comprised of projects and non-project work that focus on achieving planned outcomes. So projects are basically achieving those outcomes or outputs. So this is another small little diagram showing the same thing which we have seen earlier. Now let's talk about the program management and operations management and operations organizational strategy. Program, operations, and strategy. Primary context for program management within an organization is the planning and performance against organizational strategy. This all what is happening in OPM, program management, portfolio management, project management. This is all about organizational strategy. Programs may directly work across multiple lines of business or may narrowly support single lines of business or functional areas within an organization. But every program, every project, it is satisfying organizational strategy. If it is not, this is not supposed to be there at all. How much success an organization achieves by incorporating program management into its business processes is determined by the maturity of the organizational policies, controls, and governance practices. So this maturity comes from organizational project management. These factors define, communicate, and serve to align work with the organization to organizational strategy and objectives. During their life cycle, projects produce deliverables, whereas programs deliver benefits and capabilities that the organization can utilize to sustain, enhance, and deliver organizational goals. So this is the whole relationship, how organizational goals are met. This is projects produces deliverables, programs deliver benefits and capabilities, and their organization can utilize it to sustain, enhance, and deliver organizational goals. Ultimately, the benefit is reaching the organization. So, from the program context, if you can look at it, the strategic vision would include the naturally vision, mission, organizational strategy, different strategic alternatives, and ultimately, uh, keeping all these things in mind, a portfolio comes into being. In that portfolio, amongst other things, we have our program. Our program has its own strategy, its own benefit definition, its own life cycle, its own stakeholders, and a governance framework. Under the life cycle, we have the life cycle has to be there's a definition stage, there is delivery stage, there is a closure stage. So there are basically three gateways. And when we are delivering it, we have a number of components through which we deliver our benefits. And these are sub-programs, projects, and other work. These are all the program components. So this is the linkage between the organizational strategy, operations, and the program. This diagram I have already shown you earlier. In program definition, we formulate the program where the chartering and all initiation processes happen. Then program preparation where the program management plan and your basic work is started. The delivery stage is program benefit delivery. Here your components are started, you oversee your components, and then they are transitioned and closed. Each of the components are transitioning their benefits to the program, and they are being closed. And then they all those benefits, once consolidated, they will come for program transition, and ultimately program will close out after transitioning it uh, to the customer. Organizations address the need for change by creating strategic business initiatives to modify the organization or its products and services. Organizations use portfolios, programs, and projects to deliver their initiatives. I hope this is very clear. The organization should ensure that these portfolios, programs, and projects are all aligned with the organization's strategy and objectives. That is the number one thing. They comprised of the best mix of project investments and make the best use of available resources. This all is due to the portfolio alignment, the best investment, that is means prioritization, and best use of available resources, that means resource sharing within a portfolio. In addition, for large and intricate programs, the Program Management Office may provide additional management support for personnel and other resources, contracts and procurements, and legal and legislative issues, uh, definitely to its components. So as I said, a program is responsible for managing all its projects centrally, meaning the resource pool of the program is shared. So, as I said, the portfolio work, which otherwise we relate with portfolio, prioritization and allocations and all that, the program is doing its own prioritization and allocation. So, it is behaving like a small little portfolio also. Some programs continue for years and assume many aspects of normal operations. So, if it is a 20-year long program, then there have to be some daily operations, normal functioning. So that is the other work which I am referring to. This is also a component that overlap with the larger organization's operational management. So organizational operations are different and program operations are different. Program management office may take on some of these responsibilities. So in some cases, if the program is very complex, we may need to have a program management office, and the functioning of program management office is basically this other work, managing other projects and the components and realizing the benefits. The program management office is responsible for that. So program management office, when established within a program, is an important element of the program infrastructure. This supports the program manager with the management of multiple projects. While there are many varieties of program management offices within organizations, for the purposes of this standard, the program management office provides support to the program manager. That's all. Let's keep the things simple. Otherwise, the term PMO is quite confusing because there are hundreds of types of PMOs. So when I say program management office, that means a PMO within the program to manage and support the program manager. So what does it do? It helps in defining the program management processes and procedures, supporting the management of schedule and budget, defining the quality standards for the program, supporting effective resource management, providing document and configuration management, providing centralized support for managing changes and tracking risks and issues. These are all the jobs which are the program responsibilities, program activities. You remember I outlined the program activities earlier. So these are those program activities. These are now being done by the Program Management Office. In addition, for large and intricate programs, the Program Management Office may provide additional management support for personnel and other resources, contracts, procurement, and as I said earlier, uh, this is the same slide. So, any comments so far, Julian? Julian, are you there? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So, is it okay?
No comment so far.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were 2-3 points I wanted to discuss with you earlier, but you did not respond. Probably you didn't listen. Was it all right? My voice was coming. Could you hear me?
Yeah, the voice is coming, but mine seems to be spotty sometimes.
Okay. So you may ask me again if anything is not clear. Now let us talk about business value. Uh, I hope so far whatever we have discussed that is clear, because that amply makes the role, each role, very clear. Program management, portfolio management, strategy, operations, project management, all these things have been made absolutely clear. These are the basic concepts. If you are clear about, then probably you will have no difficulty in studying further. But this is your foundation. I have emphasized on certain points that what is the responsibility of the program manager, what is not the responsibility of the program manager. You must pay more attention towards those things. So now talking about the business value, uh, apart from the strategic objectives and goals and the strategic alignment, there is one other thing in your organization, and that is the business value. Not talking from the project or program point of view, I'm talking from organizational point of view. Business value of your organization. This is a concept unique to each organization. So defined as the entire value of the business, the total sum of all tangible and intangible elements. You see, how do you realize the benefit, uh, business value of your organization? How can you tell me what is the business value of your business? I would say, if I ask you to tell me if your organization is sold today, how much it will pay, how much it will be paid for, that is your business value, and that includes all the tangibles, no, all offices, assets, furnitures, everything. So all those tangible things and many intangibles also. Like you see, you have a brand name, you have a repo, you have a trademark. So probably they have their own value. So you may be worthy more than your asset value, more than your tangible value, and that is due to your intangible value. So sum and total of all the tangible and intangible is your overall business value. So let's say your business value today is $6 billion. Your business value today is $6 billion, right? So what do you feel if you're fulfilling your organizational strategic goals, uh, and everything is going smoothly? All the organizational strategies are being met, project and programs are being run, and they keep running for next 5 years or 10 years. After 10 years, you reassess your business value. Although you have done everything according to your organizational strategic goals, but your business value has not increased. What do you say about it? It is still 6 billion rupees. What do you say about this?
Uh, I'm, uh, I'm having a hard time stuck on how do you measure the intangible, and
Yes, of
how do
course.
you put a price on that?
Well, that is very simple. You just get yourself assessed in the market. They will tell you what is worth of your organization, right? So the assessment you did today was 6 billion, and you did after 10 years is also 6 billion. So basically, you have not added anything to the business value. That is my point.
Mm,
Your organization may have been very happy that we are going very smooth
mm,
and we are meeting all our targets, and but you have not added anything to the business value. This is something to think about, that maybe we have to revise our strategy. Maybe we have to consider the business value also in our goals and objectives. So if your strategic goals are being met, that is not enough indicator that everything is going fine. Business value must increase. And how much it should increase? That is why organizations have vision. What is the vision of your organization? What is the vision of your organization? Basically, vision is where my organization wants to be after 10 years. Where my organization wants to be after 10 years. Naturally, it wants to be somewhere better, not worse. So if you are worth today $6 billion, maybe you want to be a $24 billion company after 10 years. So that is the dream you can visualize. That is the business value you ascertain for yourself, you target for yourself. And your goals must be allocated according to that. That becomes your long-term objective. It must be realistic, of course. That becomes your long-term objective. Maybe after 10 years or 25 years, you want to be $24 billion company. So long-term objective is this much. So what if it is 25-year target? Then you must have your medium-term targets. Like after every 5 years, how much value you should achieve. So you will break down from 6 to 24 into that many times of midterm targets, and you can assign those targets to those 5 years each. And then, for example, if you are to improve by uh, 7 million, 7 billion in next 5 years, you must have set your short-term objectives for maybe on yearly basis. This year, our target is to enhance our business value by 1 billion. So I am not telling you something new. This is very common. This is given in the business books. But normally, project managers are the people associated with project program and portfolio management. They forget about this important function. They forget about the business value. Your your project, our program, our portfolio, whatever you are running, must add something to the business value. Although I do understand that this is not all the responsibility of the project programs and portfolios. This is also the responsibility of the business of the operations to add to the business value. Naturally, I do agree to that. But all the change you are bringing in the organization is brought through the projects, programs, and portfolios. So, what is the business value addition done by your program? So it is not only the organizational strategy you are targeting. The secondary aim is to add to the business value of the organization as well. I hope I made my point.
Yeah, understood. This is
Okay, let
got a lot of information and very complex.
no, it is not really very complex. This is the, I think, most simplest thing. If you start a business today, would you like not
Hmm.
to progress, not to earn out of it? Definitely, you want to earn out of it. If you buy a house, do you want to sell it at a cheaper cost than what you bought it for? Not at all. You want to enhance your business value, right? And how do you do that? You
Mm-hmm.
you dream on. You see, I have bought this house, and after 5 years, I want to sell it for this much money. And then you will keep enhancing the value of that. But if you do not maintain that building, if you do not update that building, then ultimately that will lose the value. So you have to keep enhancing that business value as if you can meet your target. So all the changes, all the projects you will be doing towards that building or that house would be for enhancement of that value and ultimately getting the benefit out of it.
Right.
Okay, let me define it from the standard. Value may be created through effective management of ongoing operations. Naturally, this is the responsibility of the operations to create value, but projects and programs and portfolios also contribute something towards that. Through the effective use of portfolios, programs, and project management, organizations will possess the ability to employ reliable, established processes to meet strategic objectives and obtain greater value from their project investment. Because the changes in operations are brought through organizational project management, right? To enhance and improve your operations through organizational project management. So naturally, if you enhance your operation, the business value must also ultimately enhance. All organizations are not business driven, we agree. There are many NGOs, there are many government offices, but still, all organizations conduct business related activities. You see, even if it is a government office or an NGO, don't they spend money? They do. They deal with cash, and definitely their intangible value may be much more than the tangible value, but they enhance their business value anyways. Even government agencies and NGOs focus on attaining business value for their activities, maybe in shape of benefits to the public, but they enhance their business value. So every organization will need to enhance its business value. How this business value is realized? Successful business value realization begins with comprehensive strategic planning and management, as we had created a mid-term plan and long-term plan and short-term plan. So this is comprehensive strategic planning and management. Organizational strategy can be expressed through the organization's mission and vision. As I said, you must have a dream, you must have a vision, and your mission must be uh, the you know uh, explanation of that vision. Vision may be something which is unachievable or which is like a dream, but mission converts it into achievable terminology, and then it is translated into the long-term plan, short-term plan, mid-term plan, and all that, including orientation to markets, competition, other environmental factors. Effective organizational strategy provides defined directions for development and growth in addition to performance metrics for success. It is essential to use portfolio, program, and project management techniques in order to bridge the gap between organizational strategy and successful business value realization. That is the biggest gap which has to be bridged. If you can keep these, it is just like you are running with two horses. You have to keep both the horses together. If you only take on the horse of the organizational strategy, you may lose on business value realization. And if you become too money minded and you only look at the business value realization, you may lose track of the organizational strategy. So somehow you have to synchronize these two things. That is uh, the word of wisdom for today. Organization strategy as well as business value, both of these things have to run together. What portfolio can do for business value? Portfolio management aligns components like project, program, and portfolio and operations to the organizational strategy, organized into portfolios or sub-portfolios to optimize project or program objectives, dependencies, costs, timelines, benefits, resources, and risks. This allows organizations to have an overall view of how the strategic goals are reflected in the portfolio, institute appropriate governance management, and authorize human, financial, and material resources to be allocated based on expected performance and benefits. So, if you can keep these things in mind, the business value in mind, right from the beginning, your governance framework will be structured in the same way. And ultimately, you will have business value prime in your mind. How program management can do it? Using program management, organizations have the ability to align multiple projects for optimized or integrated cost, schedule, effort, and benefit. Program management focuses on project interdependencies and helps to determine the optimal approach for managing and realizing the desired benefits. As far as projects are concerned, project management organizations have the ability to apply knowledge, process, skills, tools, and techniques that enhances the likelihood of success over a wide range of projects. That is application of good practices. Project management focuses on the successful delivery of product, service, and result. Within program and portfolio and projects, projects are the means of achieving organizational strategy and objectives. So basically, projects is the front line runner. Project actually results in achievement of the organizational strategy or objectives. And then comes the organizational enablers, the fourth part of the OPM. Organizations can further facilitate the alignment of portfolio, program, and project management activities by strengthening organizational enablers like structural, cultural, technical, technological, and human resource practices. So these practices will uh, reinforce the program, project, and project management activities. So, the effective realization, organizations can achieve successful transitions within the portfolio, program, and project domains and attain effective investment management and business value realization by continuously conducting portfolio strategic alignment and optimization, performing business impact analysis, and developing robust organizational enablers. This is how your organization can benefit effectively from business value realization. I think this is enough for today. There is a small little part left about role of project manager and stakeholder and all that. Two, three topics only. We can cover them tomorrow. Uh, I just want to have your comments. What have you learned today? Yes, Julian? Julian, are you there? Julian, can you hear me? Hello?